Hi, and welcome to another episode of the FM Channel podcast. My name is Claudio Rojas. I'm one of the co-owners and senior recruiters at Alex Young Recruitment. I'm really excited because today we've got on the show, we've got Alex Walters, he's the group head of facilities at the Office Group. And I'm excited because our office is in the Office Group, so it's great. So I've seen him bobbing around and stuff. He's a cool guy. But yeah, just as a reminder to anybody that hasn't tuned in before, basically the FM Channel podcast is just about interviewing people from the FM industry, from different backgrounds, different levels, in a bit to hear their journey, what their journey has been into the FM industry, so that we can inspire other people within the sector. Hear about what they love about their job and the industry, maybe what they dislike, perhaps. But yeah, it's just good to have you on the show. So, Alex, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Cool. So you are group head of facilities at the Office Group. So for anybody before we go back to how you got into the industry, tell us what you do now then. Obviously you do it for the Office Group. Tell us who they are and what you do for them then.
Yeah. So the Office Group is a creator of flexible workspaces. We're very kind of distinctive. We design all of our buildings individually, and try and make sure every building is its own kind of identity, which makes facilities management much more interesting as well. It's different challenges in different buildings, different ways of approaching strategy. So I'm the group head of facilities, and we oversee kind of total facilities management, both in-house and external. Subcontractor management, we oversee health and safety, and we also kind of support the operations team in delivering the member experience across the group.
Nice. Okay. So anybody out there, I guess, do people ever describe you as it's a bit like WeWork? Is that a bit annoying when people say that?
No, we're not. I think we're very different.
Yeah.
It's a relatively new industry.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say it's been around for 10 years plus. Obviously, We're not your traditional leasing kind of properties. We're much more of a service provider. We've built a platform of kind of amenities and services that our members and our clients can really utilize and experience. And I think our aim is to really develop the workspace for our users, so they can thrive, and as a business they can grow. And to do that's why we design the workspaces in the way that we do.
Yeah, nice. No, they're cool places. Obviously, we work in one. I love being here. So what? So how's it been for you guys over the last year then? Because obviously, we've gone through this turmoil that we're hopefully coming out of now. I'm guessing in theory, it's been fairly quiet for you guys. But how's it been for the FM team? Because I know that in a lot of other business that FMs has not stopped, it's carried on. In other places, it's been completely dead. How's it been for you guys? How's it been for your team?
Yeah, it's been challenging, as it has for everybody in every industry. I think being in the industry we're in, and being the company that we are, we've done really well. Really positive outcome. We've actually grown our portfolio throughout this period, so we're very much still looking forward, still opening new spaces. Designing for the future. I think in terms of challenging, there's been positives and negatives. Obviously, what's happened has been disastrous across the world.
Yeah,
it's a really unfortunate event that's taken place. But I think it's also, from an industry perspective, it's challenged us. It's thrown us into the unknown. And obviously, with facilities and kind of property management for years, it's been about this is the way it's done. But having that unknown, particularly if someone kind of from my background and coming at it from kind of slightly younger approach, it's been really good to not have to do something in a particular way and to be like, how do we tackle this? What can we do? It's really kind of challenged us from that perspective.
Yeah.
It's obviously occupancy wise, as we don't having the people in the city that we used to have right now, and that's a shame. Buildings are much quieter than they used to be, but we've done well as a group out of it. We're looking forward, optimistic. I think as an industry, we are much better suited to what the new world of work is looking like. It's a lot of talk about agile working, about collaboration spaces as opposed to the office. Just being an environment, it's going to be an experience now. And people want to come into the office. I think that's clear now. Lockdown 1, people were very much, we want to work from home, it's the summer, and it was a bit of a new thing, and that's slowly changing. I think people are seeing mental health and wellness is suffering slightly much more, particularly throughout the winter lockdown. And people want to come back to the workspaces. You can see that appetite now. I mean, yourself, you've been coming back recently. We've been kind of crossing pathways. And I'm hoping that as an industry, we're much suited towards supporting that and facilitating the collaboration that people are going to want.
No, definitely. No, there's definitely more people kicking around, isn't there, in town and that. Since yesterday, it's good. It's good to see. What I don't get is the people queuing up for Nike Town at 7 in the morning. I don't get it. Get it. But it's horses for courses. I was queuing up for a pint yesterday at 12, so it's all different, isn't it? So do you guys, so just before we go back to how you got in the industry, what are you guys predicting? What was the office group predicting in terms of how people are going to be using office space? Do you think like the co-working and that kind of agile working is going to be on the up now, do you think, as opposed to sort of people taking on office space for a year or 2 years, or will it remain the same, do you think? What's the general feeling?
I think it depends what you read. I've took it a lot of time this year reading plenty of articles, and I think it really does depend on the audience the article's intended for. I think personally, I see that there's absolutely a need for workspace. People are saying kind of the office is dead. It's just wrong. It's not dead. It's
not. Absolutely.
I do think it's going to become less of an environment and more of an experience. And if people want to attract the right talent, they're going to have the right offices and be able to offer that level of experience, the level of confidence that people are going to want in the property and the environment they're in. It's obviously going to be a huge demand going forward on cleaning and hygiene, health and safety, wellness, sustainability, and you need to really be able to harness all of that in your workspace to get the right talent. And I think there's absolutely a demand for coming back to work. You can see that much clearer now. As soon as relaxation happens in the rules, people are getting out and they're wanting to get out of the house. So,
oh God, everyone's dying for it, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to it, to be honest. I think the future is going to be very positive. I think the workspace is going to become much more used for the right reasons than just having to be there. And I think that's going to really drive performance. And kind of even to a degree using the remote working, it will be a thing. There will be agile working, but that means you can recruit talent that's no longer bound by geography of where people live. You should be able to look for the right people in the right places, and that should open up a lot of opportunities for people where those opportunities may not have been before. So
no, definitely. How many buildings have the office group got now then? How big's the portfolio?
So our platform's 41 buildings across the UK and Germany. So Germany was a new market for us in the past 12 to 18 months. We've opened up 3 buildings live and more in the pipeline. And they
fall under you as well, do they?
At the moment it's more of a support function. So we obviously support the growth of the German team and supporting from afar. Obviously, restrictions have made it really difficult to get out there and go and view the buildings, which is it's a challenge because I like to experience all the buildings that we own and operate. All of our spaces are different, and I think it's hard to come up with a facility strategy unless you actually know the spaces. And me and my team kind of get around the buildings. You've probably seen me in the co-working at Henry. I can't understand how you use the space if I don't try and use it myself. And as to how we operate and manage the spaces as well. So.
Cool. No, definitely. That's great. It's great to hear that the portfolio is expanding as well. So going back there.
Obviously a positive outlook.
Yeah, cool. So listen, I was just going to say, it's quite interesting because you're the group head of facilities for the office group, 41 buildings coming to you. You've got your in-house team, you manage subcontractors. You're quite a young guy still, which is great to see. So what was your route into facilities management? Did you kind of fall into it? Did you choose it? What was the route that you took?
I think everyone says they fall into facilities management, but I think if I had the choice, I'd pick it as well. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really evolved over the years. Very much moved away from that engineers in plant rooms and people not knowing who is responsible for the building, and it's the forefront of what people do now. And the better your spaces are managed, the better the member experience is going to be. whether that member's a client or an employee, it's all the same across the industry. I came at it from a slightly, I guess, more traditional angle. I went through school into the you must go to university kind of era, and not knowing what I wanted to do, where I wanted to be, and then finished university and worked for a student accommodation provider as an assistant building manager.
All right, okay.
And that was kind of my first experience of buildings, managing properties, interacting with people. Very much enjoyed the building side more, building pathology, understanding how buildings work, where the issues are and how to fix those issues was something I was really interested in.
Yeah.
And I stayed with that provider for 5-6 years, moved into London. So originally in Birmingham and then relocated up to the head office. And it was a European portfolio, predominantly UK, Ireland based, but we got to travel to Spain as well occasionally. So yeah, working across that portfolio. And again, that was an industry at the time that boomed, and it went from your traditional kind of negative image of student accommodation to being some of the best spaces I've seen utilised in years. The amenity offerings that students get these days is fantastic. And
that's unreal.
It's completely different to what it was many moons ago. It's really, I guess, evolved with the kind of client demand, and that's great. I think it's really good for students to be able to have spaces like that. It helps them obviously learn and want to be inspired to educate themselves, so it's great.
Yeah. What was available when I was a student, and mine was a right dump.
That's definitely, there's still some of that around, but I think the English is great now.
Yeah. Cool. So you worked there for a few years. Carry on, sorry.
I was fortunate enough really to work in a very small team. So there was just two of us. My boss was the head of facilities at the time for the group. So I worked for him for 5 years and just managed to kind of leverage everything he knew. He was great at education, really pushed me to learn more and challenge myself, and hopefully feel like I've taken a lot of that from him and now push that onto my team and learn my team. We've got a very young team at TOG across the group, particularly in the facilities area. But yeah, I think people do fall into FM. There's many different routes. I think some of my team have come from the engineering background and been engineers and now gone to the management route. Others have started in very different areas. Some people come from university backgrounds. Yeah, so I've probably done a more traditional route. Definitely fell into FM because it wasn't what I went to university to study or wanted to do, but something I really grew to like. Yeah,
you kind of just follow. Yeah, it's great. It's a great position where you are, and I think the company's brilliant. So, and it's just constantly evolving, is it? Like I say, the workspace is quite an exciting time to be in this sector that you're in specifically, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's going to be the kind of workspace of the future are going to be very much what we model and what we do, and it's really good to be in this company at the moment.
Yeah, cool. So what is it that you like about the FM industry? What are your thoughts on kind of how do you kind of, when you're growing your team and you're kind of recruiting people, what do you tell them that is great about the FM industry? What do you like about it?
For me, I think it was kind of born out of the numerous pieces that nobody really took hold of. And that means that there's such a variety to the day-to-day. It's not just about repairing things or maintaining things or compliance. There's such an angle to really develop member experience to kind of support the operational teams with Transgress, particularly at TOG. You go from kind of working across the design team through to the project opening and running. And it's just a real opportunity to kind of get exposure to every area of the business. I think it's so much to learn, so much to do. It's much more than people think it is and much more than it used to be. It's operational, it's soft services, it's hard services. It's just a great variety of what we do on a day-to-day. And even now you're looking at utilities and energy management, moving into sustainability.
Yeah. That's the big thing, isn't it? Yeah.
It's kind of the next big thing, definitely, and something we're really working on at the moment. But something that's very interesting as well. It's new, but it's got some substance to it, and it's really interesting to be working in that area.
Can you say what specifically at all? Because I know that everyone's kind of I don't say obsessed, but kind of mindful. I think we're becoming more mindful, aren't we, of like the carbon footprint and energy and wasted energy, and what kind of initiatives are out there that you guys might be doing or looking at that are long term that will kind of, help be more energy efficient or kind of sustainable?
I think it's much more than the energy efficiency as well. I think the easy pieces are obviously utilities management and your waste and recycling, but actually when you look at it holistically, it's almost its own movement there. Clients and consumer demand is really being driven by kind of consciousness these days. Trying to get your service offering to meet that consciousness, meet that demand is really interesting. There's a huge amount we're looking into at the moment, researching on, looking at what we can do better, how we can really support the initiatives that are out there and drive them through to support our spaces and make our kind of clients thrive, similar to yourselves. Make sure you're working in spaces that are environmentally friendly. There's so much in that kind of discipline. It's huge.
No, it's really exciting. And like I say, I think we're also much more mindful. I know I am anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's starting to, at first I was like, oh, it'll be all right. The kind of, the whole kind of global warming, I guess, do you know what I mean? But it's kind of, I'm starting to become quite conscious of like, the recycling, the plastic, the amount of plastic that we use at home and stuff when the food shop arrives is just immense. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. It is mad. It's mad.
But it's moved from that and that kind of niche area, and it's really going across the mental health boundaries and the wellness and the well-being there, and that much more is focused around the environment. Again, moving back to the member experience that we're trying to harness and we're trying to support. It's really crucial to make sure your strategy looks at everything. That's what we're really trying to move towards.
No, it's great. It's amazing to hear that you're saying that this is all part of your job within facilities management, when once upon a time people didn't really know that facilities existed. It was always, like you say, it was kind of like, who's fixing the aircon, who's fixing the bogs and the boilers, basically. Do you know what I mean? Who's kind of keeping the place clean? But it's so much more than that nowadays. And it probably, I guess it probably helps that you've got a younger team as well, I'm guessing, because people coming on with kind of new ideas as opposed to kind of, like you said before, we've always done it this way. Now you're coming up with new ideas, fresh ideas. So it's, it's quite exciting.
Yeah, and a lot of them have been born into this as well. They've been born into the wellness agenda and sustainability. They're coming into their first jobs and they're wanting much more from kind of employers, and that's what we want to support.
No, it's good stuff. So is there anything, so there's a lot of positives there, which is great. Is there anything sort of, I don't want to say negative, but I mean, is there anything that you dislike about not your job, but the industry, shall we say? Maybe that you looked and thought it could be better, or is all, is there anything that you dislike or you think could be done differently on a whole, maybe?
Dislike, not so much. I think as an industry, it's still very traditional. I think it could be done better in a lot of places. I think there's a big need to diversify, particularly across, obviously, greater female representation is a huge thing. It's a very male-dominated industry, particularly coming from the engineering side. There's a lot more, obviously, foot mobile engineers that are male, and I think probably closed some opportunities for a long time, and it needs to change now, and we definitely need to support that and make sure that there's opportunity there for everybody. That's definitely something I'd like to work on more.
Cool, great stuff. Well, listen, I'm going to ask one more question actually before we finish it off, and it's one I ask everybody actually, and it's about what would your advice be to anyone that's just starting out in the FM industry? What kind of advice would you give? I guess what advice do you give your team as well, because you've got quite a young team and stuff. And what advice would you give anybody who's just starting out in the industry about how to go about it? Because you've got to a great position where you are. You're a young guy still. What would you say to that person that's just starting out?
I think it's to understand the facilities. I think people obviously want to go into the industry now, which is a great thing. It's certainly evolved at the time, but
Yeah.
you've got to understand your end product and your end user to be able to manage the facilities that you're managing. I think you have to experience it from their perspective. You have to really understand how it is your facilities operate, whether they're offices, whether they're student accommodations, leisure centres, outdoor sporting areas. Like, you really need to understand what it is that your user wants, and then from that you can make the right decisions and you can make changes. You can see what works well, what doesn't work well, and you can adapt to that and make the changes. But if you don't experience it as that end user, then you're never really going to be able to make a big difference to somebody else. So I think that's a real key piece.
Perfect. Nice one. Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I really appreciate your time. I know you're really busy. We've had to rebook it a couple of times, but listen, appreciate your time, mate. And listen, I'll see you around the building for a coffee at some point now that we're allowed.
Thanks, Claudio. Yeah, hopefully a pint more than a coffee.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Take care, man. All the best.
Cheers, mate. Have a good day.
Cheers. Bye-bye.